Happy Friday. How's it going? Yo, yo, yo. How's everyone doing? We made it. We made it through the week. Sorry, I just wanted to adjust my microphone there a little bit. All right. We'll wait for the song to end, and we'll get started. What's everyone got going on for the weekend? I got my Godot meetup tomorrow, my in-person one. We meet every month on the third Saturday in San Francisco. If you happen to be in the Bay. Yeah, so no stream tomorrow because I'll be at that, but yeah. So we can't be doing what we've been doing the last couple of days. We can't be having this like leaving shit unfinished today. We got to actually finish up what we're working on, just so I can have peace of mind as I get through the weekend. Yeah. All right. Fade out the music there. And let's get screen sharing. I said screen sharing, and I thought of like a hypothetical person named Screen Sharon, like the remote work warrior. which is not a thing, but that's what popped into my head. So what we were struggling with yesterday, which I put no additional which no effort in, but I think I have a better grasp of it internally. Like I think it's one of those things: you fall asleep, take a shower, yeah, do something else for half a day, and you kind of just it kind of connects a little bit or clicks a little bit better. So I think we're gonna be able to get through this stuff with this AABB. I'm still a little concerned about this whole size center thing. I think bounds was better, but we were running into some issues. I'm like questioning this maximum minimum calculation thing. You know, we could define an AABB just by its maximum and its minimum, like relative to the position. Then we would just need to know the position. The only thing is if we rotated the the object that was like that owned the AABB, I think we'd mess some stuff up. Dime novel. Happy to get here just in time for corny jokes. Oh yeah, just in time for my screen sharing. The remote office warrior, remote work warrior. That sounds better. Happy Friday, Dime novel hero. We're working on some annoying physics stuff. I've got a snack here. I didn't have a snack yesterday, and I was like, and I was streamed like longer than I had intended, and I was like so hangry by the end of it. So I've got a snack on standby. So hopefully we don't do that. I was getting tilted between not being able to figure this thing out and being hungry. That I was like, be cool, Dave. Be cool. Don't get too aggro. So, so the issue we're having, we changed this from bounds, which was like 0 to number. Maximum warp. Hey, no Jewel. How's it going? Saw you in full box stream earlier. Happy Friday. Is your workday done? Oh, we got Ryson. We got Scott. Scott McDonald. We've got two Scotts in the community. I have to distinguish between them. Ryson, if you rotate an AABB anything other than 90 degrees, then it wouldn't be AA. Well, we only rotate 90 degrees. Otherwise, it would be just a swap of the min-max values. If you rotate an AABB 90 degrees, you don't just swap the minimum and the maximum, right? Like, am I crazy? I guess you just do the same thing that you do to the position, right? You just do the turn. You just like the x the x becomes negative y or whatever if it's like a 90-degree clockwise. Yeah, we could do that. That might be honestly easier. Just define a maximum and minimum. When the maximum and minimum is in local space, so it's like implicitly using like an offset. Ryson, not the swapping between them. You mean the axis the min max is associated with. Ah, okay, I see. I see. I see. Okay. Yeah, that could be a good way to do this. Honestly. Rather than doing this whole we define a center and a size and we figure it out. That's maybe what I want to do instead. Yeah, maybe we flip this. Maybe we flip this on its head. Because the fun thing about maximum minimum is minimum could still be greater than the position of the AABB. Like we could have an AABB and we could have the AABB enclose the position, but you could also have an AABB that's outside of the position that's associated with it. Do that. Why is your stream sometimes stopping when you're on another tab? I don't know, but I have the same thing. I don't know if it stops per se, but I lose audio. That happens to me a lot where I'm like, maybe it pauses or the audio cuts out or something. I don't know, because when I go back, it comes back, right? Yeah, that happens to me on Twitch when I'm watching people in a background tab. Yeah, we're gonna try this. We're gonna try that where you define an AABB by its minimum and its maximum, and then maybe you derive a couple of characteristics like its size and its volume. So like its size is, well, its size is its volume, right? Or size, I guess, could be vector 3i. I don't know. Maybe volume. Volume is usually a single number that represents the total. Is volume often a vector? Would volume be a vector or a single? What's like more traditional? Volume should be considered a single value, meaning a scalar. Yeah, that's what I thought. Oh, well, wait. But it could just be, I could have a size. I like volume being a single number, and then size can be like its size along each dimension. So its size is going to be, it's going to be maximum minus minimum. And its volume is size dot length. Is this expecting a float? Oh, it is. Weird. Okay, well, we can do it. Why do I do it that way? Why is it this way? Oh, because I'm calculating the squared length. And then taking the square root. Okay. Jake Snyder, welcome in. Does your ECS approach circumvent Godot's node-based architecture altogether, or collaborate with it? You're a TypeScript dev that's new to Godot. New to Godot. Yeah, sure. Comment that out. So our ECS complements the Godot architecture in a way. It also bypasses it in a way. So I feel like both is true. We basically have it split into two different domains. Like we have, so here's our scene tree here, right? Like on the left. So we have this game node, which is our root node. I have this board, which is the node 2D. All node 2Ds will be part of the board. So it'll be on like the game board, if you will. And then we have a UI. And so all of this stuff is in nodes. So anything that needs to be rendered or interacted with will either be on the board or in the UI. What our ECS is, for is our ECS is for the simulation layer. So all of this stuff is in GDScript. These are all just nodes with GDScripts if they need one or whatever. These are mostly tile maps. So the game node is this doorway into the C# world here, which don't ask why we implemented our ECS in C#. It was the easiest way for me to do it. This is kind of our gateway. So we have like a main system that the game node owns. The game node runs a main system. The main system runs other systems. So the UI inputs. So with the UI and board sends input into here, into like a bunch of command queues. We run the systems, process all that stuff, and then at the end, the game node can send all the output back. So like the current way this is used for us is like we have a whole an auto tiling system here in any component in the ECS world that reads through a buffer and figures out what the tile maps should look like based on the simulation state. We pack all of that stuff up and then we send it back through. We send it back through from the game node to the scene tree. And all the tile maps just unpack the tile map data. So we've kind of divided the domains into a very separate simulation layer, which is where the ECS lives, and then the Godot scene tree layer, which is for input and output, like rendering and stuff. So we've kind of created parallel systems. Ryson, you can have a facsimile of ECS by using scripts on nodes as if they were components. Probably as good as you were going to get from ECS without writing your engine or sidestepping the engine entirely, which is what you believe I'm doing. I'm sidestepping. I mean, kind of. I've just created two different worlds. So yeah, so we can simulate very lightweight objects. So our simulation objects are not nodes. They're not resources. They're very lightweight endies with components. And then anything that needs to be interacted with by the player or observed by the player goes into our Godot world. I think, Ryson, what you're describing is an entity component architecture. I think unless you introduce managers, you don't get the systems part. Which I think the component pattern is the way you should use Godot anyway. Godot is like has the component pattern built into it, right? Where like nodes or scenes or nodes, and nodes can have scenes or nodes. Like it's really great. I think Godot is really great for a component architecture. I mean, technically, Unity is also an entity component architecture. Jake, thanks for the breakdown. It's an interesting approach. You need to wrap your head around for a bit. Yeah, it definitely isn't the way you would probably do this straight up. The way you would probably do this straight up is you would probably make your entity component system as like a GD extension in C++, and then you would just read it and write to it from like Godot scripts and stuff. But I wasn't confident enough to do that, and I didn't feel like I understood how I wanted to run the systems that way. But in C#, it was super clear to me how I would do all of that. All right, so volume is just size.x size.x plus size.x plus, oh, this is commented out. I was like, why is this not changing anything? Here we go. Size.x plus size.y times size.x plus size.z times size.x.y times size.x. Okay, that's our volume. that right? Or is that off by like 1 along each dimension? Yeah, this is off by 1. Because if maximum and minimum are the same number, that means we end up with a size of 0. So it needs to be maximum minus minimum plus vector 3 dot 1, vector 3I dot 1. Then equals is just Bryson, to your mind, there are 2 motivations for ECS: ease of composability, which is just the component system you're mentioning. But then there's the systems approach that lets you orchestrate things around the structure of your data, and the motivation for that is mainly performance. Yeah, I think that's about right. I think if you're mainly interested in the design aspect of ECS, yeah, just go with a component pattern. And a component pattern is super flexible. It's like everyone uses a component pattern. Because in a component pattern, you can just have the update function on the component. That's like the typical component pattern, right? Like as laid out in game programming patterns. Just the really simple. Oh, that's not it. That's like how we get it otherwise. Yeah, I don't know. I like game programming patterns. Whenever I'm like thinking about something, I usually hop in here and look at it. Yeah, here's like a component. So you'd have like a component with some data. You'd have like a virtual update function. That's like the component by itself thing. But yeah, if you add the system in, that's a little different. And things are harder to do in a system, to be fair, because there's a level of indirection that you need to account for when you're doing a system. All right, so does all of this still work? I feel like should I check to make sure that you're inputting good data into an AABB? Because an AABB really depends on really needs some of this stuff really needs to be within the bounds. I guess it'll throw an error no matter what. Something will throw an error if you're feeding bad info into this. This should work now. So let's see how this, we probably need to change all of our definitions of this. Who uses all of this? ABB with the block buffer, the test systems, the tool, the test system, the block buffer, test system, and tool system. Okay, let's go through. Check our implementation now that we've changed it. How's everyone doing? How's everyone's Friday? Ready for the weekend? I am. I mentioned at the top of the stream, I have my in-person Godot meetup in the city tomorrow, so no stream tomorrow. So I really want to finish up this click drag block placement stuff. I think we'll do the select and drag stuff later, but I really want to do the placement drag stuff sooner than later. Why is this? Okay, so I defined these functions here. These functions kind of just belong to the AABB, but you don't necessarily need to get the AABB. So we could just, instead of this separate implementation here, we could just say AABB.get index vector. Then same thing with this. We don't need a separate implementation. We can just say AABB.get vector. Anything else we do? So the length of this is the AABB volume. That is correct. The rest of this seems good. Okay, block buffer's good. Let's clean up the tabs. I always have way too many tabs open. Oops, I closed probably the only tab I wanted to keep open. Oopsies. So test system, tool system, and tile system are probably the three systems we're interested in right now. That alliteration. So the test system also has a reference to the block buffer. So instead of this, we want to say utility. We want to say, okay, so it's the opposite of this. We want to say vector 3.0. And then we want to say utility dot max block volume. I want to change the name of this, but that's fine for now. And then so we probably still have some major issues with how we're using the bounds, but I'm just going to run it anyway because we're not going to get good behavior, but I can at least kind of get a better idea of what's going wrong. Okay, that's something. That's not what we want, but it's something. The axis alignment is wrong. Yeah, it's drawing across the Z axis. It shouldn't be doing that. And we have errors. Where are we getting this? Vector 3i 241, ABB 25, tool system 115. Tool system 115. If bounds dot encloses chords. Okay, so yeah, I'm creating the bounds here, and I'm probably doing it very wrong because we're doing it based on our old assumption of how this works. So now what we say here is we say anchor chords is chords. I want to add an AABB thing that has just a single vector constructor. To represent a single position. Call that like origin or something, I don't know. Public AABB. Just so there's an easier way to make an AABB of size 1. Yeah. Kind of silly, but we have a use case for it. So we create the initial one at chords. And then each time we create a new one, we need to do this. We need to say vector 3i min equals min, not min value, vector 3i dot. Oh yeah, I was gonna rewrite how this works. Now you pick a you have a vector and you pick out one that you want to be max. I don't want to do that. I want to go into vector 3i. I want to rewrite the min and the max to be a static function that takes 2. I like that better. These are static properties. Here's an iterator. Static implicit operators. Static operators. Static functions. Okay, here we got to the static functions. So let's move our I guess I could make clamp a static function, but that makes more sense to have you to go value clamp between min and max. For max, for these, I want these to be static functions. I want them to take a left-handed value and a right-handed value. I just like the look of that better. Change. I did good with these. I wrote like documentation. Left. Okay, so this returns a vector 3 of either the component values of vector what's this doc look like? Oh, this is too long. Turns a vector 3i of each of the highest values to the left. Between left and right. I get really weirdly obsessed about making sure my documentation is on one line or as few lines as possible. Okay, and this is the same thing but with a scalar. Returns of components of either the component values, either the components of the highest, returns a vector 3 of the highest value of either each component of either each component or each component of vector or scalar. Whatever is higher for each component. Oh, I probably shouldn't have rewritten this. Turns a vector 3i of the highest values of either each component of vector or the scalar or the n32 scalar. Whichever is higher for each component. What did this look like before I messed it up? Composed of either the components, a vector, or the scalar in 32. I should say in 32 scalar. Scalar. Whichever is higher. Kind of a silly way to spend my time, but you know, this is what we're doing. I usually don't go ham on this, but my vector implementation is like pretty complete. I'm trying to do a good job. Documentation with the scalar. Is vector composed of either either the components of the vector 3i? I don't know. I'm probably going too far with this. The vector 3i vector or the int32 scalar, whichever is higher for each component. It's fine. All right, now let's replace the min with these and then just rename the appropriate things. Why is this indented this much? I don't know. All right, replace the mins with these. Min, let's go of each lowest component. Min, definitely not going to mess any of this up. Min. Whatever is lower for each component. Okay, cool. I've got my static versions of min and max, which I wanted. So min is vector 3i dot min. Yep. Vector 3i max. Bounds is a new AABB of min and max. This might get a little rough when we start rotating around. I'm a little concerned if we start rotating while we're doing this, but let's get to that later. If we start rotating the view, that could be fun. Anywhere else we reference the AABB here? Probably in here. Does the enclose function work? Return local position is local position dot clamp minimum and maximum. I say coords, don't I? Then position. Yeah, whatever. Local position is fine. This should work. It won't, but it should. And that's important. All right. It's kind of doing what we want. It's not going backwards. And it's oh, and we can wrap. It's maybe not what we want. And we're writing across multiple z indexes, which is interesting. Oh, why is it doing that coloration? It's actually wrapping around in some cases. Fascinating. Where do I do this debug? I don't need this debugger anymore. Oh, right here. Okay, so why are we writing across multiple z indexes? All right, so when we replace blocks, we get the component and the buffer. We go through every coordinate in the last set of bounds we had. We check to see if if that coordinate is not in the current set of bounds, at which point we try to reveal. That's not happening, for one thing. This is not working currently for some reason. I'll change this to chords. Because while it is true that it's the local position, if there is no position associated with the AABB, then it's world position, and it's a global position. So we can't just presume that it's a local position. I mean, it's local to, yeah, I don't know. I think that's fine. Um, so encloses, I think, works. I think this is just the simplest enclosure check we can do, really. Um, is my implementation of clamp like trash? No, it's like exactly what you would expect. Could even just be an expression body. The Z is for some reason, our Z index is like, yeah, for some reason we're like just going to town here. We also can't go back more than that exact one tile. So why can't we go back? We also overflow and wrap around. Okay. So there's a problem here. Let me look at my iterator. So my iterator is for each index between this and the volume, which is correct. Size.x plus size.y times size.x plus size times z times size times y times size times x. Oh, is it not this? Is it just size.y times size.x plus size.z times size.y? We're just doing size. Quickly validate that this is correct. So if we had like a 10 by 10 by 10, this is 10 times 10 times 10. That's already 1,000. Okay, so we're already, this is the full right here. I'm an idiot. I was thinking about what we do for the iterator. It's just this for the size. So I think we were over indexing is what we were doing. Like we were going too far when we would iterate. So this is just the volume. I was thinking of this, coords.x plus coords.y times size.x plus coords.z times size.x times size.y. The order of that for no good reason. Okay, I think one of the problems is resolved, which is hopefully that Z indexing thing we were running into. Nope, we still have that. And we can't go back more than one coordinate. Is that a per frame issue? Like, are we just updating the thing too many times? So it's not keeping track of its history. How do we do that here? How do we do that in the old way when we're determining this? So if we have a coordinate that is not inside the bounds, and it is in pending blocks, which is our equivalent of, oh, do we need to keep track of that? Do we indeed need to keep track of active blocks? Maybe. Reveal hidden block at coords. I omitted that concept of keeping track of the blocks that we're actively working with. I got rid of that, and maybe I need it. I'm trying to do it with these boundary checks. I'm trying to check to see if our boundary shrank, and then any coordinate in the old boundary, which was bigger, that's not in this new boundary, which has shrunk, should be revealed, because we're not overwriting it anymore. So we should roll back to whatever it was before. That's what I want to do. I feel like we don't actually need to keep track of the coords. We can do it with just an AABB. Maybe I'm setting it too many times. We're setting it once here. So we're finding the min and max points between the anchor coords and the coords. We're creating a boundary using those. We're trying to replace blocks in the boundary. We're using the old prior coords. Here we're checking. Okay, so we've got a coordinate that was in this prior boundary. If it's still in the new boundary, we just continue. If not, we try to reveal it. So I feel like maybe we haven't recorded it correctly. I mean, I know this function works. We've been using it for too long for it to not work. There's something about our boundary logic that is failing us. Maybe it's here. So for each coordinate in our bounds, if... What is this check? What is this insane check I have here? We're iterating through every coordinate in the boundaries, and then I'm saying if it's not in the boundaries, continue. What am I doing? Why did I feel like I needed to check here? What am I maybe checking for? Oh, maybe I'm checking the buildable area? But we should be locking that down earlier in the process. We should not be doing boundary checks at this point. So let's get rid of that. That's insane. This all is very straightforward and correct. Yeah, I can only go back one tile. I can't go further back. What if I go the other way? I keep dragging from the back forward. What if I drag from forward back? Oh, that doesn't work at all. Oh, well, that explains something. We can't go back at all. Oh, yeah, we can. Why did that wait until I let go to record it? Oh, we're going past again. So we went past this section down into this section. Oh, it kind of worked there. That's weird. Why can I see it there, but when I do this, it waits? All right, yeah, we're doing some weird stuff. Some weird things are happening here. Kind of funny. All right, so Scott Hopkins, hello again. How goes? It goes okay. We've settled on a structure for our AABB that's very straightforward. Of we just record the minimum and the maximum coordinates of it. Deeply straightforward. Instead of trying to mess around with this plugging in the center and the size or the offset or whatever. I feel like this implementation is correct. We're still getting weird behavior while trying to use it for our tile placement. So maybe there's something weird here, but there could also be something weird somewhere else. But it's probable that there's something weird here. There's definitely something going on in terms of like we're indexing incorrectly into some stuff. So that's interesting, but that might just be an issue with not restricting the input vectors in the input handler to be within bounds. We'll need to do, but kind of want to fix this stuff first. How are you doing? Happy Friday. Oh, we have errors. Okay, we are exceeding. So when I'm doing that, when I'm doing something, we are exceeding the limit. Let's do some debugging. Yeah, we're not cleaning up after ourselves. Very weird. So why is this not going? Why is this not writing over multiple Z layers? Winter Bailey, you just found the channel. Game looks really neat. What's it going to be about? Really appreciate that. Thanks for coming in. We're kind of making an isometric 3D version of the old FTL Faster Than Light by Subset Games. Kind of making a turn-based isometric 3D version. So we're kind of smashing up two of their games. We're kind of mixing FTL with like Into the Breach. We're kind of mixing them together. And that's kind of what we're working on. We're working on a tile editing tool that will let me build these 3D ships out without having to like do it all by hand with like pixel art. And it will handle all the auto tiling stuff for me, like the outlining and the coloration of stuff. So that's what we're working on. We're running into some bugs. So we're tackling bugs right now. Resource file not found. Res. Expected type. Whatever. What does this even mean? That's fine. How are you doing? Happy Friday. Thanks for coming in. All right, I think our iterator works because our iterator basically goes from 0 to volume. And it gives us a vector with components between 0 and size, basically. And then we just add minimum to each one, and that gets us the range between minimum and maximum for each coordinate within the boundary. So like I feel like this is just correct. We're running into some issues. And so I'm just kind of trying to spot. We rewrote this whole thing. I don't see any issues here. The get index thing is right. Get vector is right. I guess I can compare this against the block buffer. This is the same, right? X plus y times x plus z times x times y. X plus y times x plus z times y times x. That's the same. That's functionally identical. This is also the same because we copied this over probably. So we can go back to just invoking the other one. AABB dot get vector index. AABB dot get index vector. I kind of want to find where these index out of range things are happening that we were getting yelled at about. Like, yeah, we're overwriting like crazy. Like so why is it the first time and we're not throwing any errors? So I don't know what's going on there. So the first time we do this, it writes to all 5 layers in some cases. Other times when we do this, it just writes to a single layer. Like if I go backwards. If I go backwards and then forwards, it writes to a single layer. But if I just start writing forwards like this, it writes to all the layers. So like what? What is going on? I probably need to look at some numbers of what kind of inputs we're getting in here. Because this is a little bizarre to me. Well, that was too, this number was too large. That's something. That should change our behavior a little bit. Okay, we still overwrite, so we can still pass in. So we're passing in coordinates outside of the buildable area, and it's trying to map them on. And it's doing a job of it. Okay, well at least we're not going beyond the upper bounds here like we were before. So if I go positive, we are still like just iterating like crazy. And then we overshoot. Okay, so we need another set of boundary checks, which is like the the buildable area boundary checks. Maybe we make this an AABB. Maybe we call it like building boundaries or something like that. Max build bounds. If our problem is with our AABB itself, that's gonna compound the issue, but I want to take this out of the ECS namespace and just put it here. Move this here. Yeah, just into the solution file. I might make a namespace called like MI, like math, like integral math or something like that. Get rid of this. Get rid of this value. So the block buffer, you were just going to use utility dot max build bounds. Then we need to check something against this. So I guess the cheap thing to do would be to just down here. I mean, not cheap, but like kind of the spirit of what I had set up here, which was like if utility, if not utility dot max build bounds dot encloses coords continue. This is the check I meant to make. We should be constraining the input earlier than this probably, but not yet. All right, so what does that do for us? It doesn't stop that issue, but it should stop us from wrapping around. Okay, it does. It stops us from doing the insane wraparound thing that we were doing. Interesting that the interesting behavior we get with the hull detection at the edge of the buildable area. It thinks there's another block on the other side of it, and there kind of is. Huh. But we can work on that later. All right, now what if we go negative? If we try to make one of these negative, it's interesting that the negative and the positive works differently. Like if we drag from the front back, we get a single tile, but if we drag from the back to the front, we get multiple. Very strange. Yeah, this is looking at the opposite side up one level, like back here. It's looking at this back line. Fascinating. I tried to do some kind of rotation. Oh, interesting. We are causing an overflow in the tile system. Tile system 214. Oh, we're probably doing some kind of boundary check somewhere in here that doesn't work anymore. For layer data, try get value layer key. Data add range. So we had data in here that can't be converted. It's concerning. Or data that doesn't fit into a U short. Scott, you love to see how this is all coming along. It looks really cool. Yeah, I wish it was working. But yeah, I'm pleased with the auto tiler. It's definitely got some bugs, but it's going to work really great once we get it back into shape. It's kind of frustrating that we're still working to like reach feature parity with like the original version of the auto tiler. The potential of this version is much higher, but like we haven't caught up with the old one, which was kind of maxed out in terms of what it could do, but it at least did it. So I don't like that leapfrogging kind of process, especially when it takes a while to actually do the leapfrog part, but I really appreciate it. I appreciate the interest. I appreciate that people keep coming back to check in each week. That definitely is very motivating and feels good because a lot of times I can't see the progress because in my perspective, the progress is so glacial that I almost don't notice it a lot of the time, but it's really nice when people come in and they have more perspective on it than I do. Progress is progress. That's true. I'm kind of annoyed that Godot keeps telling me about errors when I'm like running in here. And then I go to run it in the debugger to see where the errors are, and no errors. There are no errors. It's like, that's concerning. Like, what is this? This is some kind of tile map failing to load problem, I think. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to test this only in here. Scott, if it makes you feel any better, you've been struggling to get two libraries to play nicely together for almost 3 years now. Oh no. You finally built a solution today that's almost working? Hell yeah. What angle did I say my dimetric perspective was at again? It's half of what isometric is. So isometric is you go down or up or whatever. You make one vertical movement after 4 horizontal movements. So you go over by 4, one down by 1. Oh, that's for me. That's for dimetric. So for dimetric, we go over by 4, down by 1, instead of isometric, which is over by 2, down by 1. So it's half. Visualizable, like here. I need to just look at the coordinates we're being fed. I need to understand where this disagreement is happening. Because it appears as if we're jumping z levels on an input level, which I find very unbelievable. So there's forward back. Yeah, we are locked at a z index of 5. And now back to 4, which is where the problem's coming. And we're still 5. Z index is locked to 5. Okay, so the input is correct. The behavior is wrong, but the input we're sending in is correct. I should probably write a 2-string function for the block, or for the ABB. Actually, I'm actually okay with printing the whole min, max, size, volume. I'm actually okay with that. So I want to see, print gd.print, oh, debug.writeLine. Did you just add a reference to Godot in my thing? You did. I'll tell you what we're using. Debug.writeLine, prior bounds. And then we're going to debug.writeLine bounds. Or no, bounds, not prior bounds. So let's see what's going on here. All right. So we start with a minimum of 10, 10, 5 and a maximum of 10, 10, 5. That is correct. Size 1, volume 1. Then we start moving. We get like 9, 10, 5 to 10, 10 to 10, 10, 10. What? Oh God, do I have some like kind of component mix-up going on in my vector3 function here? Do I have like x's and y's flipped around? Has this been the problem the whole time? We were working on this function. Do I have x's on one side and y's on the other or something like that? Insane. X scalar, y scalar, z scalar. Okay. Left x, left y, right y. Oh my God. Left y, right z. Oh, kill me now. Oh my God, it affected both of these. This is why you don't write your own implementations of these kinds of things. Kill me now. Maybe this is an argument why you write unit tests. We weren't upstream enough. ISO 128 degrees, 120 degrees total between axes. So ISO is 30 degrees off of x-axis, so yours is 15. That's approximately right. The thing is, there is a difference between pixel art ISO and true ISO. Pixel art ISO is not the same as like the real ISO angle, the isometric angle, but so I don't know. Your numbers seem quite rounded, but but I'm sure they're accurate or accurate enough to be usable. Because yeah, I looked into the projections a lot in the past. Of course, I don't remember any of it now. All right, let's see what's different now. So that forward thing, okay, thank God. Okay, so we fixed the multi-Z layer nonsense that was going on. I don't understand why we can't go backwards yet, but that we can figure out. Our minimum is never changing. Fascinating. Uh, that's a little concerning. Okay, our minimum's changing now. Okay, I wasn't doing anything about that. Okay. So 665 is our anchor point. So it's our minimum until it becomes our maximum. That's because I was dragging back and forth. Yeah, the Wikipedia axonometric projection. We're interested in isometric projection. Yeah, getting an isometric projection is super weird. You have to. So you look straight on towards one face, then you rotate the cube plus or minus 45 degrees about the vertical axis, followed by a rotation of approximately 35.264 degrees, precisely arcsine 1 over the square root of 3, or arctan 1 over the square root of 2, which is related to the magic angle. I don't remember the detail about as far as the difference between pixel art. I don't think Wikipedia is going to get in. Oh no, it does. It totally does here. Uh, Isometric computer graphics are not necessarily truly isometric. Yeah, they aren't. There's dimetric projection and a 2:1 pixel ratio. Okay, so 2:1 pixel ratio is the typical isometric. So I use a 4:1 pixel ratio. I'm looking this up just because I need a concise and clear way to describe this because people ask me this all the time and I like give them like a weird answer, a weird internalized answer. So yeah, so I'm using 4:1. 2:1 is standard. But yeah, it's not strictly isometric. It's close enough though, right? 30-degree isometric. Okay. So yeah, the final result is 30-degree isometric. Okay. The funky number is when you have to rotate things to get there, I guess. I don't know. Perspective's weird, isn't it? That is gross. Yeah. Yeah, perspective is weird. All right. Well, our ABB seems to be working. I'm just there's something about the way I'm going through this process that is not. Thanks. Yeah, no, I'm not to be scrutinizing what you're doing, Ryson. I'm just like I'm trying to think through it. I think your tool is gonna be awesome. Ryson's working on this fun projection tool, hilariously called 2ply, which is for like drawing a square image and then having it be projected to like an arbitrary like face. Or an arbitrary like face in like an isometric perspective or something like that. One of the axonometric projections. It seems really cool. Seems like a cool way of getting flat art into like a pseudo 3D projection. All right, so something about this workflow is wrong and is causing me endless pain. It has something to do with our attempts to uncover blocks. Right, in a way that preserves pixel art fidelity. Yeah, that's the key part, right? Is you're not doing like any texture filtering. You're like you're gonna there's a one. Well, is there a 1-to-1 pixel ratio like, or is it exactly the same? I'm interested to see. I want to see some examples in the Discord of like how an image transforms because I'm trying to think about it. And I get that as it gets taller, it gets narrower. So like there shouldn't be more pixels, but I feel like in some cases you'll need to draw 1 pixel across like 2 or something like that, right? Like I'm really interested to see how well you're able to achieve pixel fidelity. Like how possible it is to not, because there's distortion, right? There has to be distortion. Oh, we don't need to check against the utility max build bounds. We can just check against the compositions. Comp dot AABB dot encloses. That won't change anything though because we're assigning the utility max build bounds to the comp, to the block buffer component. I really wish when you hit get component and you submitted a type, I wish you didn't have to put in the type and the flag. Like I wish the flag here was implied. We'll probably figure out a way to do that eventually. I mean, you shouldn't be getting components this way anyway, but sometimes you do. Pawn X pawn, possibly also known as pawn pawn. Welcome in. Welcome to the Twitch side of things. How's it going? Happy Friday. Really appreciate the follow. Rice, and it's a lot to type. Yeah, I do not envy this task you've set out for yourself. You're doing great. Awesome. It's good to hear. We're working on our tile. We're working on a tile editor for our isometric 3D version of FTL, faster than light. We're trying out the Randy school of game design, where you take a game and you put it into a different dimension, and you call that game design. I'm excited to try it. So we're taking a 2D game and making it 3D. We're actually going to make a lot of changes to the design. So we're not actually doing a strict Randy game design. That's awesome. Should be fun. Been seeing some cool stuff from the last few years. Yeah, Godot is really blowing up. Godot is really popping off. It's really great to see. I see more and more cool stuff every day. Most interesting one probably right now is probably like PVKK or whatever it is. Is that what it's called? PVKK, yeah. Planeten Vertide Canon Commandant something. So German. Distinctly German. But this is just an incredible example of like the kind of stuff people are doing in Godot right now, and it's blowing my mind. Like what? So cool. I can't wait for stuff like this. I think Slay the Spire 2 is also being made in Godot. It's an exciting time to be working in Godot. But yeah, this is incredible. This is not the sort of thing you expect to see from a Godot game. It visually just looks awesome. I know, because a lot of people's complaints about Godot is that it's like, well, you should be doing this in Unreal. It's like, I don't know, this looks fine. This looks fine to me. Would it be easier to do in Unreal? Maybe. I don't know. Oh, we got a bot. We got a chat bot to ban. Get ready. Ryson, load the photon torpedoes. Astronomical loaf. All right, fire when ready. You disagree? You feel Unreal Engine likes to fight everyone? Yeah, but people are like it's worth it, right? Because you get like nanite and you get all this crazy stuff. People love Blueprint. I don't know. I never got into stuff like a visual scripting. You have a lot of UE experience? Pon Pon. You're real, you swear, Scott? All right, I believe you. I wonder how many people just get banned by coming into a Twitch chat and saying, like, best cheap viewers available. Bit of everything. Godot's your preferred. Great. Yeah, I have about 15 something years of Unity experience, and I'm not looking back. I love Godot, especially for 2D. I'm never using anything else. So this is our problem is somewhere in here, where we go through the prior volume of inputs, and then any coordinate that we find in the old volume that doesn't exist in the new volume, we try to uncover them. And then we go through the new volume and we draw those tiles. We place those tiles. Oh, what should be happening here though is no, we're doing this down here, aren't we? Hidden blocks dot remove. Yeah, okay. This function works, like the try reveal block at, because we're using it constantly. Anytime we move the preview block, we're trying to reveal the block at. So like this. So try reveal block add is just going. It's just doing its thing. Every time we move the cursor to a new tile map layer. Or not the layer, a new coordinate in the layer. Pon, subscribe to Prime. Oh. We just beamed you up. I hope you know what you're getting into. You're going on a 5-year mission with us to make this game. Yeah, so we can draw that all out, but once we start trying to go back, we aren't able to go back. In Kate, we have to go back. So yeah, I can't erase tiles beyond like 1 block here. Sometimes it'll let me go back by 1, which makes me think there's an issue with the fact that we're replacing this boundary every frame. I don't know. Something funky is happening with this, and I'm going to find out. I'm going to figure out what it is. Watch it be not the blocks at all, and it's like the auto tiler, like, killing me here. Something in the auto tiler, but I doubt it's something in the auto tiler. Hopefully Pon after about 5 or 6 years, we're going to have a game that looks kind of like this. Like, just like a classic Star Trek low-res, isometric spaceship management game. This is the dream. This is what we're on the road towards. Ryson, the shifting up is a concession you feel okay making with isometric because there is no diminution with depth. So shifting up just means the original rect represents a longer distance. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Shifting up in terms of distortion is acceptable. Pon, you'd rather use YouTube. Twitch is a bit laggy for you. Oh yeah, the viewing experience is way better on the Twitch side. There is a delay, yeah, as Ryson says, and I delay. To be honest, most of the delay is here. Most of the delay is here, not on YouTube. Who made this art here? This guy. This guy did, Scott. This is my first pixel art game. This is actually my first game making art in general. We have some stuff done already. We have like doors. We have some crew members drawn. I honestly spent most of my time on the blocks. I'm working on the block tiling that we need to update. I really want to get these new tiles in, but it's a little more complicated to do anything other than our basic cube. But yeah, we have some other cool art. We have some doors. The only thing I've really animated so far are like the doors. But I enjoy working on pixel art. I don't get to do as much of this. Looks good. Thank you so much. I really enjoy working on the art stuff. We have some other stuff we could show. I really want to just get it in the game. Show it off. Show it off there. In situ. Pon, programmers will learn art if they have to, even if it's the most basic of art, pixel. Yeah. No, I love it. I didn't think I would enjoy it very much because I've never really done art. But there's something about that really low res pixel art that I like. Like, to me, working on this kind of art is easy because it's like, I mean, it's not super easy. I agonize over it, but it's like the little dudes are like 13 pixels tall, so it's like really obvious if I make a mistake. Like if I put one too many pixels on like their shoulder or something like that, it's like very obviously wrong. Whereas like I think if I was even a slightly bigger size character, I would agonize over anatomy and like movement. But like I'm enjoying this very low res pixel art stuff that we're working on. We're doing a 640 by 360p screen, which is pretty low res, which is why I'm kind of tightly constraining the size of the build area for now. We might unlock this limit. I don't know. I'd be kind of interested to see what really large constructions would look like and behave. Like if we did like a space station or something like that instead of a spaceship. This is dreams down the line. Far off dreams. Hallucinations. Bryson, you actually won third place in an art contest last year. Perspective art contest. Very technical, but still. Out of something like 80 other people. That's awesome. Well, I understand why you're interested in these making this perspective art tool then. Pompon, you feel like it works for what I got going on? Yeah, I think it's all coming together. I think it's coming together. I think it all complements everything else. It's one of those things where it's like there's that Venn diagram of like make what you want to make what you make what will sell and like make what you can make. And like I'm kind of at the limits of what I can make in a lot of this stuff, but it's overlapping very nicely with what I want to make. Yeah, it reminds you of Into the Breach a lot, Scott Hopkins. That's awesome. That's something. That's kind of what I'm going for. We are really aiming for like a marriage between FTL and Into the Breach, especially now that I think this is going to be a turn-based game. Do I have any musical friends I'm going to bully into doing some of that for you? I want to do the music myself. I have a lot more experience making music than I do making art, but my musical experience is all in analog music. I don't have any digital music experience, so I'm really interested in doing like ambient stuff and like learning more about synthesizers. I really can't wait till we can kind of move past just this back end programming stuff and start working on content more. It's very motivating to me to be able to do that down the line. Scott McDonald, you think it's a perfect spot to be in your opinion, making what you want to make that is at the limits of what you can currently do? It's one of the best ways to grow. Yeah, definitely. It's going to lead to the Stardew Valley effect, though, where I'm gonna make all the art, and then I'm gonna get to the end of making the art, and I'm gonna be like, time to throw away all the art and make it all again, because I've grown too much during the process of making it, and now it looks like shit. The FTL soundtrack changed your life? Oh, the FTL soundtrack is a banger. It's so good. It's probably time for me to play some FTL again. I wish it had a touch interface. I could play it on a tablet or something. Okay, so I still don't understand why this doesn't work. Like to me, this logically just makes sense where we go through last movement's prior bounds list, which is like this is the last area we were operating over. If we find a coordinate that isn't in the new bounds list, it means it's outside of the build we're trying to do. Then we try to reveal that block. And then we iterate through every coordinate in the current boundary that we're trying to, like the current dragged out area that we're currently trying to build in. If it's within the buildable area, then we build it. Coords in bounds, index equals comp.getPositionIndex coords. Yes, that should be fine because we're in the same space. The component is in global space. So are we. So this should be fine. The placement is working. This placement block is working. This reveal block is not working, and I don't understand why. It has something maybe to do with the fact that we're replacing the prior bounds every frame. Adagon, welcome for the hydrate. Well, welcome in. Thanks for the hydrate. Pon, you feel you should change your name to Scott? Yeah, we're just full of Scots right now. Everyone, Adagon is working on this awesome jam site. Dare to Jam. D2jam.com. There's a Discord, Jam Central. There's going to be some exciting jam stuff this year, I think, going on here. You're really putting this together at a Flex. Do you have another new logo now? Man, it's like a new logo every day. There's some good stuff. I think I'm excited. I'm very excited about where this is going. So far, just 2 days of progress. Yeah, I feel like in 2 days of progress, you've gotten most of the Ludum Dare backend down. Yeah, that's very exciting. D2jam.com. I almost lit you up because I typed in dare2jam.com and it was like down. And I was like, damn it, Adagon, I'm trying to show off the website and it's down. And I just like had the wrong URL. Site is really coming along. Yeah, it is. It is. Y'all having too much fun with this everyone's named Scott thing over on YouTube. I kind of do that whenever I meet another Dave or David. I usually make the joke of like, oh, I haven't seen you at the meetings. And they're like, ha, 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 ha. And we're like, yeah, we have fun. You were debating whether to buy that redirect. Did you type it with a 2 or 2? I did the word dare, the number 2, and then jam. And yeah, and then I looked back. I was like, why is it down? And I realized later it was just D2 jam. It's good. Breezing Wing. Oh, hello. You're that person from YouTube. Wow, that feels incredible for someone to say. You got my vids and your recommended. That's, I don't know why. I'm really not doing anything that warrants that, but it's very inspiring to see. You must have a very specific set of interests on YouTube. But I really appreciate it. I appreciate you coming over here and hanging out. How's it going, Breezing Wing? Happy Friday. How are you doing? We're trying to identify a strange. You know, maybe I document it out. Maybe we diagram it out like our AABB diagram yesterday. Grab this. Let's make a new layer. So we have our prior layer. So we're going to have our prior boundary. Let's make prior like orange or something. Let's make axis over everything else. Let's lock axis. So let's say we have this prior boundary from like here to here. That's a little bright. It's a little better. Pon, what is it doing? Oh, so the problem we have is Breezing. Today was a tough day. You're just trying to unwind. Well, I really want to make a wind joke since your name is Breezing and you're talking about unwinding, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be sensitive. I hope you can unwind. It's Friday. I hope you're a weekend enjoyer. I hope you're able to enjoy it. So we have this we pick an anchor point and we drag out, and we're dragging out this area. The problem is when we drag back, we should just keep going back, but we only go back by 1. And I think it has something to do with the fact that I'm reassigning the prior bounds every frame. Like we're doing a thing, and then when we go back further, there's some issue that's preventing us to go back any further than just like 1 layer. I don't understand. And so we can go this way, but then if we try to go back, we can't. So I'm trying to address the fact that we can't undo what we're laying out. I'm trying to just visualize it. This is also like incredibly bright, this red here. I don't like looking at it. Maybe we pick like a brown. That's better. So here's like last frame. We'll make a new layer. That's current. So when we go back, so we've got our current. So let me drag out a box that's going to be smaller than the prior box. So we'll say like this. It's like this size. Let's go a little smaller. So it's like this. So for some and you should be able to just keep doing that, like making smaller boxes. And for some reason, and so what it's supposed to do is it looks through all of these. It looks through all of the prior coordinates, and then any coordinate that isn't within the bounds of the new set, it erases. It erases the blocks. It's supposed to erase the blocks, all of these blocks. Right now it's just doing 1 layer, so it'll do like this one. It'll do like 1 rank or 1 column or something like that. And it won't keep going. It'll get stuck after that. So there's something about the way I'm overwriting it each frame, the prior bounds. Like I take the current bounds and I make the prior bounds the current bounds each frame at the very end. Something about that activity is making it so we can't go any farther back than a very slight amount. And I'm trying to visualize in my mind why that is. Like here we set the initial bounds, which is just whatever our starting coordinate is. And then as we continue that interaction of dragging out, we identify the minimum and maximum coordinates between the initial coordinate, the anchor coordinate, and our current coordinate. We make a new boundary using that min and max. We do this try replace blocks in function, which we just talked about, and then we set the prior bounds to the current bounds for the next frame. And for some reason, that's restricting my ability to go backwards. Breezing, you don't remember whatever that was being an FTL. Not sure you'll be able to help with the code right now, but we'll see. Oh, no. Unwind. This is part of my process. I'm just talking. We're doing a different thing. So we're not, instead of a flat top-down FTL look, we're doing an isometric 3D look. So we're building these 3-dimensional constructs. And I'm making a little tool set to help me do that. And we're just kind of fighting with it a little bit at the moment. Excuse me. Rubber ducks, you heard of them? Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit of rubber ducking. It's also just me trying to be a good streamer. It's a combination of the two. So the old system didn't do this. The old system went through every single block. And all it did was check if the block is, if that coordinate has had a tile block overwrite it, which is this pending blocks thing. And if it did, then we would check to see if it was inside. So maybe I just need to store these differently. Right now I'm trying to just keep track of a boundary instead of maintain a dictionary, but it's not working. Scott Hopkins, the 2x 1y is the isometric projection. Not familiar with it. Yes, 2x 1y is the isometric projection. We are not using that projection. That's the standard isometric projection. We're using 4x1. So an isometric cube would look like this. A diametric cube looks like this. or for our case of dimetric. Dimetric could be anything. Dimetric just means two of the axes are aligned, but the third one is not. I do like that it's on brand. I like that dimetric is on brand for us. Chef's kiss. So yeah, we have a way more of a side-on look, which presents some visibility problems, but I think we've actually addressed those quite well in the original version. Excuse me, in the original version of the auto tiler, which we'll port over. The original version of the auto tiler is great. I know I show it off all the time, but when new people come in, I like to at least point to where we're going. Breezing, you thought you saw a mistake in whatever the previous code was, but it might be a misunderstanding. It could be either. We'll get back to that in 1 second. So we can drag out these blocks. So like here's a ceiling for one layer or a floor. And then we can make a room on the next layer. And it's compartmentalized, so it's changed colors. And we can go down, we can make another one. It changes color when it becomes compartmentalized. We'll go up, I'm gonna turn it around. So this is kind of where we're headed back to, having this kind of functionality. Make some doors. I know this is the same demo I give every time, but I like it. Finish this airlock here. This is the kind of stuff we're headed back towards. And then yeah, because it's side on, this is why we have this cutaway system, like a Sims style cutaway system. I don't love the partial transparency of the door. I think I want to do something else with the doors. I think I want to do floor outlines. So the doors disappear, but you can see the outline of the floor or the door on the ground, and you can see if it's open or not. Kind of want to do that. It's kind of where I would like to go eventually with this stuff. But yeah, we have a new backend, and we're trying to rebuild this tool to work with that backend. Thank you, Breezing. Ryson, ISO, one common angle between each axis. Yeah, right. Dimetric, two unique angles. An example being 105, 105, 150. Yeah. Trimetric is when each angle is unique. Trimetric is just like regular life, right? No, it's still it's still a orthogonal perspective, right? Scott McDonald, yeah, outline on the floor and maybe a shadow on the wall where the door touches. Might be like, ooh, yeah, that's a good idea. The shadow is a good idea. So you can see that something was there. Okay. All right, let's go back here. So why does this not work? So I'm feeling like part of the problem is I'm reassigning each time. I'm reassigning it every frame. This doesn't get called every frame. This just gets called when I say confidently and then go double check. This should only get called once whenever. Oh, I got to put her in the input handler back on. All right, we're in ads on the Twitch side. I'm not going to do any exciting things for a minute. Freezing Wing, Lamau, 10,000 warnings, errors. This is harmless. You're probably in ads, but this is just condition PLM root is true. This is some weird. I think I've isolated the cause of this. I think it's a rendering thing that has to do with messing with the modulation of individual tile cells, which is how I'm handling the that's how I'm currently handling the visibility cutaway thing that we're doing. This is fine. We're going to stop doing it this way, and all of these should go away. But yeah, this is some engine thing that I don't understand, and it doesn't seem to cause any actual problems, so who knows. Breezing. I don't know if you're in ads, but I'm going to presume that you're not because you're tagged me. Your question is, if I'm getting new bounds and then calling the function to reassign blocks, wouldn't it mess up updating the blocks that aren't in the bounds anymore? Well, that's the intention of this process. The intention is we have two sets of bounds. We have the boundaries from the last time we did this and the boundaries from the current time we're doing it. So it takes a new coordinate set, which is like where our mouse cursor currently is. And the intention is that we go through all of the old bounds, and then any coordinate in the old bounds that isn't also in the new bounds, we erase, which is try reveal block at. We try to restore whatever the initial block was there, which might have been no block. And then after that, we go through the new bounds, all the coordinates in the new bounds, and then we overwrite with whatever we're doing. It's easier just to overwrite it than check what's there. Although we might actually start, I want to do a non-exclusive overwrite where like you add on to it, like an additive overwrite where it's like if a floor is already there, we add a wall on top. Because right now what happens is if there's a floor there and we drag over it with a wall, the floor is going to get erased and the wall will be added on top. Which is not how the old tile editor worked, but the current one is not smart enough to add stuff on top. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there. It's easy to do because block states are just a bit field. So we can just add, we can check, and certain bit fields can be exclusive, and then other bit fields don't have to be. Yeah, so I don't know. This is the problem we're running into. I don't totally understand it. I should probably just do some debugging. Would probably be the first thing to try here. Debug.writeLine. Prior bounds. No. Current bounds. Bounds. Let's just see what we're dealing with here. Try to understand what's going on. This will take a second to parse. So prior bounds of 225, 225, and the current bounds of 225, 325. So let's go to the point where prior bounds starts to become bigger than current bounds. So prior bounds size, let's just look by volume. So volume, here we're maxing out. So here's the first line where we would start to recover tiles, where volume of the prior bounds is 121, but the volume of the current bounds is only 110. So this is where we would start to expect to see tiles being clawed back, but that's not what we're experiencing. So we see 225, 12, 12, 5. The new one is 225, 11, 12, 5. Okay, so we can get one back, which is what we see usually when we start to drag back. We see one column or row be dragged back, and then it doesn't happen at all anymore. But it looks like this should work. And we go down to 11, 12. So we adopt the old one and then get the new one. I guess I don't need to print out both of these. I could just print out the current bounds. And then the frame before will be the one we use to determine the next for the next frame. Yeah, I didn't need to print out both of these. That's making it a little harder to see. So I guess all we can recover is one column or one row at a time. Maybe both, but it's very unlikely because we trigger this as soon as the cursor moves into a new coordinate. And it's basically impossible to make a diagonal move like that. It's almost guaranteed that you will cross the horizontal or the vertical boundary and they will get registered. It's very unlikely that you'll cross both boundaries before it gets registered. Technically possible, I guess, but very unlikely. So we should only ever recover one row or column at a time. But my problem is we only recover the first, and then everyone after that doesn't get recovered. And that's weird. Oh, here, we make a diagonal move here. We go from 995 to 885. Okay, so it is possible. And not just possible, but it like happens. Like we went from 10-10-5 to 995, then 995 to 885. Okay, so we can, but that's not what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing that happen. Why am I not seeing that happen? I'm gonna rerun this with just the single debug. Just bounds. Then it's a little easier to compare the lines. So we're gonna go back a little and then this. And yeah, we only see one line ever change. It would be fine if we saw one line change each time, but for some reason we just stop. And I wonder about that. Maybe it has something to do with how we're writing to the buffer. I don't know. So as long as this volume goes up, we're just growing. But once the volume starts to go back down, we should start to see one's being recovered. So we see this. We see the change from 665 or from 661 to 651. We see this. We observe this, but then every other change after this we don't observe. Okay, so the boundaries seem to be correct. It doesn't seem like we have a problem with the boundaries. Oh. I know where the problem is. I'm an idiot. I think I know where the problem is. I mean, I'm an idiot either way, but I think I know where the problem. I know where a problem is. I think there's a problem in our ABB here. I think encloses is wrong. Encloses is comparing a coordinate to the minimum and the maximum. Well, no, that should work. That should just work. Maybe I'm not. I mean, I am an idiot, but maybe that's not the problem. Because this is a coordinate that comes in this case, it comes in global position. The enumerator comes back and gives us also a global position. So we get global out of here. We get global. Well, whatever. It's not an internal position from 0 to bounds, 0 to size. Because when we index into it, we get 0 to size, and then we need to convert it to from min to max, or in the range of min to max, from the range of 0 to size. And I feel like we're doing that everywhere. I thought for a second maybe we weren't doing that correctly in every case. Get vector isn't doing that. Get vector is not doing that. Neither is get index. Oh shoot. Okay, maybe I got it. Maybe this is the problem. Maybe we can make the distinction between external space and internal space. So this is being passed in an external space. What I need is it converted to internal space to get the right index. So we need to say vector 3i internal get it into an internal space. And how do I do that? Do I just subtract the minimum? Does that work for a negative? Yeah, because we just needed to get it to 0. We need to get it into the right reference frame. Then we use the adjusted chords. There's probably a better way of putting this about a chord that's been, maybe I call it like minimized. I don't know. Maybe we say 0 based. I don't know. So we're trying to get it into a new basis. So we get a set of 0 based chords by subtracting the minimum from the chords that we receive. Now we can do our interior stuff. Not sure any of this mattered, and I might actually be wrong about all of this. But I think I'm right. Similarly for index, we start with a 0 based, and then we actually need to do all of this. So it's this thing plus minimum.x. Yeah. Or we can just say new this thing plus minimum. We have to say return now. Let's see if this did anything for us. I feel like that behavior was not that stuff was not going wrong. I feel like I'm gonna immediately upon doing anything get hit with an index out of boundary exception. Yeah, okay, so that wasn't the problem. I misunderstand. Yeah, now it's all going wrong. Okay, so that was bad. Why was this bad? So we want to get a vector. We want the vector that we get to be, I guess we don't want it to be. No, we do want it to be in minimum space here. I mean, we didn't get any index out of range exceptions, but we didn't get anything good either. And I thought I was onto something there. Now it's just straight up not working. Okay, the problem was somewhere else. Let's just undo everything I did. I was wrong. Thought for some reason I needed to get it into the correct space. But I guess this is fine currently. It might not be fine once we start dealing in local space, but we can cross that Rubicon when we get there. Well, now we'll at least be back to where we were, which is we could place stuff, but we can't unplace it. Why does this stop writing? I think we're like one error away from being able to fix this, like one mistake. I don't think the problem is with this AABB. It could be with an interior function of the AABB. I wouldn't put that past me. But the AABB seems to be correct. That's fine. We got about an hour to fix one problem. I think we can do it. I mean, we've been working on it for like 2 hours already, so maybe we can't. But I believe every day is a good day when you paint, regardless of what you end up with. The minimum and the maximum is either in global space or in a space defined by the position component of the object we're talking about. So it's going to be kind of interesting when we start dealing with that. Scott. Scott, no offense, of course, and this makes sense what you're doing, but it kind of reminds you of the saying, to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. Yeah. And you know, you do. No, I have limits. I mean, I've done a lot of things that are definitely in that brand. Like, you know, making my own ending component system was unnecessary. I'm not that hardcore. I'm not like Randy or whatever being like, I want to make a game without any libraries or whatever, or like just start with Odin, nothing else or something like, or Jay Blow, who's like, I'm going to make a game, I'm going to write a programming language before I do it. I have Godot. I mean, I'm using Godot. I'm happy starting from something. I prefer if I understand what I'm using, which is kind of why I haven't just grabbed a bunch of libraries like existing like entity component systems and stuff and like physics systems and things. But yeah, it's definitely not efficient. It's definitely not an efficient way to spend one's time. But I'm hoping later on, like when I run into issues, my understanding of the system will help me resolve them. Compared to like being kind of helpless because you're like, well, I use this plugin and I like don't know how it works. I think your willingness to use editor or using add-ons and plugins and stuff should be directly correlated with how long you're working on the project, and two, how quickly you're releasing. I think the shorter the project, or the quicker, or the sooner the release date, the more likely you should just find an existing solution and use it. But if you're in the early days of a long project, I think you should just bite the bullet and do a lot of this stuff yourself, even if it's painful. I think it'll help later. I mean, that's what I'm telling myself. Yeah, so when we get the index, we presume, so we're presuming that the coordinate that we pass in when we do this is in a space between 0 and size. So maybe I did need to do the adjusted coordinate thing here, and maybe I did not need to do it here. Or maybe I did, and maybe how I rewrote this was correct, and I'm compensating for this somewhere else. Because minimum and maximum are not zero based. I mean, they can be. Minimum could start at 0, and maximum could just be the bounds. But they also might not be. And the problem is, if you put in a coordinate that is within minimum and maximum, but not within 0 in size, then you get garbage back. You get a garbage index back. Like, it's unlikely that the index you get is going to be out of bounds. I mean, it becomes very likely over time, but it makes sense. Your ability to debug is multiplied. Yeah, I think so. I mean, until you hit a library that you wrote a year ago and you're like, this might as well have been written by someone else. Scott McDonald, you haven't built any serious games yet. Your approach so far has been mostly using frameworks, libraries for rendering and I/O, and then doing all the main logic yourself. I think that's the way. I think you just have to be responsible about knowing which domain you want to be yours and to be unique, in which you're going to need a lot of customization. Because, like, yeah, use someone else for rendering and I/O, because rendering and I/O is whatever. Like, I'm not trying to render pixels in a way that's different than anyone else. I'm trying to build things in a way that's different from everyone else. Like, I'm trying to build a game state and a game world that's different than everyone else. So, yeah, I mean, but if you're making a 3D game, maybe you do want to write your own shaders or figure out your own thing, because you don't want your game to just look like everyone else's 3D game, right? Like, you don't want to just have the Unity look. Or back in the day, the Unreal look. Nowadays, Unreal games look so good, I wouldn't complain about it. But, like, back in, like, the original Gears of War days, I feel like you could tell an Unreal game, or like Unreal Tournament and like Gears of War. You're like, that's an Unreal game. Like, they all kind of just looked like that. I think for 3D, it's harder to say, just use built-in rendering or whatever, but without any changing anything. But for 2D, yeah, I'm happy with Godot handling the UI and the rendering stuff. And I really just want the gameplay stuff to be mine, which is kind of why I've ripped it out of Godot and I'm doing it in my own little domain, my own little ECS-backed C# domain, which is definitely causing me problems. Okay, so I do actually feel like the thing I was doing here with the adjusted coordinate was correct. I wasn't getting the behavior that I wanted, but I think I'm compensating for this issue somewhere else. And I'm not sure where. Similarly, get vector. When you get vector from an index, you also just get a coordinate between 0 and size, which we don't want. We want a coordinate between minimum and maximum. So I feel like the things that I did here were correct, but the behavior I was getting was wrong, because I feel like we're compensating for it somewhere else. So I know I've said that like 3 times. I'm like convincing myself that's the case. So let's figure out where we're using this. We're literally only using this in one place, which is here. Okay, but this we're using in like a bunch of different places. Interesting. I guess this only makes sense in the context of some kind of iterator. Are we really not doing that anywhere else? I feel like we should be during this process. When we're going through, oh, why would we call that from the AABB's actual iterator itself? This is doing it here, because we're saying get vector I plus minimum. Oh, we're just doing that here. Oh, that's why it didn't fucking work. Is because I was accounting for it in get vector, and then I was compensating for it in the enumerator. So I was adding minimum twice. RIP. We need to compensate for that here, not there. Did I just do this in here? Who cares? Scott, you can still almost always tell an Unreal game, but yeah, if you're going for realism, the trade off is usually worth it. Yeah. Same thing nowadays, it's like Unity. Like, you can spot the Unity's universal render pipeline, the URP, like miles away. HDRP, a little harder, has probably people that are using the HDRP are probably doing a little bit more custom stuff in there. But yeah, you can tell a URP game like instantly almost. I feel like most people that are doing interesting work are doing an SRP, like they're doing their own scriptable rendering pipeline. Eureka, Scott H. Scott H just makes me think of Scott Hall, which is like an incredibly the most like deep cut esoteric Venture Brothers character I could probably reference. He's only in like one episode. Scott Hall. My name is Scott Hall. For the half of one person that got that. We are the same, you and I. So we add the minimum here. We fix it here. We go back to having this minimum, this zero based index, or this zero. We could still call it like internal chords. It's external chords, I guess. I should write some docs for this stuff about what's expected when you pass in the parameters here. I just want to finish this first before I do that, before I write all the uh, documentation. I feel like this should work. I'm a little skeptical of the get index thing, but it definitely should be what we want to do. Okay, who is calling get index? Just you. Who is calling get position index here? Oh, fucking everybody. Let's go through them. So index is comp.getPositionIndex coords. So here's where we're doing the here we're passing in a 0. So this is a 0-based coordinate because it's based on global coordinates. So we're passing in this global coordinate. It happens to be aligned with the component's minimum. So if the component's minimum bounds is 0, the thing that I wrote will do nothing and it will be fine. So like if the coordinate you pass in already is in the same frame reference or the same space, there should be no effect. Let's keep going. So same thing here. Atagon, redirect setup. Woo! Just waiting for name servers to update on 2/3 of the redirects. How many domains did you end up grabbing for the redirects? You got like dare2, dare2, d2. Oh, someone just texted me. Let me know my tax forms are ready for this year. That'll be fun. You got dare, then the number 2. You got D and then TO. You got dare and then TO. That's probably good. That's probably good. I don't want to get into the drama, but what are we going to do if LD57 is back on? What's that meme where it's like, it's so over, we're so back? Date will change. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I don't want to pick a fight with LD either. They do October and April. We could flip it and do like the other other months. Whatever the opposite, whatever the cross products are of those. No, that's good. It's really cool all the stuff you're doing. You really crunched on this. I hate how wishy-washy Mike is being about it. I mean, maybe talk to some people before you like blow up the whole thing and then bring it back. But no, let's not get in the drama. Still needs work. How's it going? Happy Friday. How are you doing? Man, I'm really pleased with our later streaming time. We're seeing so many friends we wouldn't normally get to see. We are missing some people, some of my morning crew, but I'm digging it. I'm enjoying this time. I ate a snack. I mean, everyone saw me eat a snack for the first hour, but that was so key. This is like the stream occurs exactly during lunchtime. And I like made the mistake of not eating yesterday. I was so tilted by the end of the stream between the bugs and not eating. I was trying to be cool, but I don't think it came across. Tabugi rated us and I was just like, that's fine. I'm not starving. Let's hang out. Let's chill. On-screen celebration. Woo! Mail time. Thank you so much. That's awesome. The YouTube people, there's the Twitch has these on-screen celebrations where like little emotes go flying across the screen. It's kind of fun. All right. Who's ready for the weekend? I am. I'm so ready. I'm so overwork. And after this, I have to go back and work for another like 4 hours on a bunch of tedious end of year compliance stuff. All right. So we need to finish our audit of like these functions and see what space we're passing in. So like these are all in global space in the reference frame of the component, which is fine. So that's already going to be 0 based. So I think if we see a problem with this change, that we are mostly going to see it in the tile system. Well, the component is also okay, as long as it's component dot get position index, I don't think we have a problem. It's the other calls to position index or position vector that are going to cause us problems. Anytime it's comp dot, it should be fine. So I'm not going to go too crazy with this. Because comp dot get position index comp dot AABB dot size with Z equals area. Fascinating. Comp dot get position index new vector 3 0 0 area. Okay, this all probably still works. I'm not going to worry about it. You think Twitch does things better than Kick? Oh, yeah. Did I say Kick? I should have said YouTube. I'm not on Kick. You don't like how Kick is always trying to recommend gambling channels, even though you've never shown any interest in that? Well, that's because the people that own Kick are those gambling people. Like, it's Big Gamble that owns Kick, and they're subsidizing Kick. So, yeah, that's why. Yeah, exactly. Adagon's like, that's how it's funded. Yep. That is, all of their money is coming from people gambling. Kind of disgusting, but whatever. All right. Two uses of get vector. One within ourselves. One is an internal usage here for the enumerator. That seems fine. Second usage of get vector is in the block buffer. And that's just calling into get vector. Okay, so nobody actually, oh, but how many people use this? Tile system uses it once, comp dot get position vector. Okay, comp dot get position vector. Okay, as long as it's comp dot, it should be fine. Because comp dot has a minimum of 0, and that should make no changes to the state. But this should matter a lot once we start talking about AABBs that have a minimum that's not 0. That's not just like the whole space. Really hoping this kind of works. Or we have problems. Nail us. Nail us. Neil as. I don't know how to pronounce your name. But welcome in. Love FTL, awesome game. Yeah, me too. I love FTL. We're kind of doing a mashup of FTL and Into the Breach. We're doing like a 3D isometric kind of take on it. That's probably going to be turn-based. It's going to be like a turn-based isometric ship management game. It's kind of where we're headed, hopefully. Adagon, ABBA. Yeah, I always think the words that I'm saying are like kind of normal, and then I end my stream and I walk out into the other room, and my girlfriend looks at me and is like, AAAABBBB, or like she'll be like, chunks, huh? It's all chunks today, and I'm like, yeah, all right. Into the light, Adagon with Into the Breach plus FTL is Into the Light. Scott Hopkins also says Into the Light. Is that derivative? Is that too derivative? Because this game actually doesn't have a name. You both independently came up with Into the Light, so I don't have to credit either of you with coining the term. I can just say it has a prior existence. Nilas, sounds cool. Getting into game dev recently too. You wanted to ask a question? Yeah, shoot. Into the Light sounds pretty good. I don't think anyone would understand what I mean by it, but that's a pretty cool name. Into the Light sounds like an optimistic version of Limbo. Faster to breach. There you go. There you go, Ryson. All right, let's focus on this question from Neil here. You were wondering, what's the right way to go about this? If you want to upgrade your weapon with explosions, like it causes explosions, I presume, on level up, should you create a new bullet and swap to it that has explosions? Okay. Should you modify the bullet script to add an explosion effect to it? Should you modify the weapon script that makes the bullet explode? Basically, what's the right way to go on upgrading yourself stuff? I would do it in the most modular way possible. So like if that means swapping out the bullet, cool. I would do it in the most hot swappable thing possible. I would not do it with like a big switch case where you're like, are we in this state? Do this. Are we in this state? Do that. Are we in this state? Do that. When you enter a new state, like you gain your bonus, I would swap out a reference somewhere. So like I would swap out maybe my bullet prefab or something like that. I'd swap out from regular bullets to exploding bullets or something like that. That way you have separate behavior, and it gets a little crazier if you have compounding behaviors. And at that point you need to kind of think about what you're doing. Like if you could have explosions plus this plus that, like then maybe you need something even more involved. But I think for a simple case, I would try something like that. Bryson says to use the command or the strategy pattern. I think that's reasonable. So, Neil, you said you're getting into game programming. I would read this book. It's available online for free. Game programming patterns. It has a bunch of patterns that you can think about. So you could look at something like, I don't know if you necessarily need the command pattern for, I think that might be overkill. I use that sort of thing for like inputs. Strategy pattern, I'm like not super familiar with that one. That one's not even on here. State pattern, depending on how crazy your state management got. And what would I use for that complex case where things are interacting with each other in like really complex ways? I mean, I would probably just have the same answer, just one level lower, right? So I think I would then go into the bullet and then make the bullet modular and and then the bullet would do the thing of like, what are my states? And then it would swap out references to things. Like, I think I would just push down a level of abstraction. Like, sounds like swapping the bullet out is a solution for now. Yeah, I think so. I think that would be the most straightforward way, because then you can have it be like, oh, you got a special mag or something like that. You got like, oh, you found the explosive ammo, like in Left 4 Dead. There's explosive ammo, right? You could be like, oh, you reloaded your gun with explosive ammo. Now the bullets explode. Like, that's probably the most straightforward. Yeah, but I highly recommend this book. It's good stuff. It's written by Bob Nystrom. Nystrom? I don't know how to pronounce that. Cool guy. Also got really good stuff about map generation. I'm sure Scott's familiar with Bob's work on map generation stuff, roguelike map generation. One of the Scotts. Scott McDonald, I think. It's bullets all the way down. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. There's two things that are kind of hard to do in entity component systems well, which are like short-term buffs and like single frame events. And I think we'll have some interesting challenges addressing that sort of thing too for us, for our case. For now, I'm using single frame events. I'm using like a separate command queue that doesn't touch entities at all, and it drives systems instead. Because yeah, that stuff can get complicated. We're also using a state stack for managing stuff. All right, I'm putting off hitting the play button because I'm afraid that none of it's going to work. Okay, we've achieved feature parity with what we had before, so that's not great. I mean, we're not doing anything worse or better than what we were doing before. We were able to undo one row or column, and that's it. We're not able to undo more than that. So I feel like there's some history thing where we're like, our system is like forgetful. And I want to understand why our system is so forgetful. Scott, your familiarity with Bob starts with where I recommended them to you a little over a week ago. Great. Yeah, roguelike. His stuff's old, but it's like it's really good. Roguelike, map generation, Bobby Nystrom. Bob Nystrom. Oh, people have been still working on it. Yeah, they have it. He has an old algorithm. Yeah. Rooms and Mazes, a procedural dungeon generator. Wow, it's 11 years old. But this is a cool generator. It seems like maybe it's broken. Oh no, it's not broken. Look at this. Isn't this cool? I mean, this is a simple case. I think he's got more. Yeah, he's got a maze. Isn't this awesome? That's so cool. I'll drop the link for you in the YouTube. I think these are kind of broken. Oh, no. It's just you have to click on them. But yeah, they've got a lot of great map generation stuff going on here. Yeah, look at this. Rooms and mazes. Like, look at this thing go. And now it's like traversing the maze. To make sure that like all the paths are like reachable. Super good. Oh, and the rooms. This is like the coolest thing. I know it's probably hard to see because I'm zoomed out a lot. Stuff in there looks really useful, the map gen stuff you're building. Yeah, I hope so. I've never really wanted to make a roguelike, but this is the stuff right here. Hey, Fusionist. Oh, we're doing okay. We're kind of stuck on a bug, but we're having a good time. Oh, we're getting in the negatives. Look at this. How is that possible? Actually, that's a good question. How are we getting into the negatives? Is it because it's relative something? Relative to something? Oh, we can... I think I know what's going on. Yeah, okay. It's spitting out the printer when we're even in the negative. When we're outside of the bounds. It won't do anything. I really need to clamp that earlier in the process. Like, that shouldn't be triggering this continue. Because, yeah, that'll really mess up our prior bounds thing. If we go out of bounds and then come back in. Maybe it won't, though. See, there's something about the fact that we're swapping out the prior bounds every time we do this. It's making us forgetful in a confusing way. Neil, thanks for the follow. Really appreciate that. You got to go for now. You can't wait to see how the project keeps progressing. Have a nice day, everyone. Really appreciate that. Have a great weekend. Ryson, a part of you always wanted to make an OG roguelike. Link will be super useful. Hell yeah, get to it. Roguelikes are great. I don't want to argue with anyone about whether this is a roguelike, so I'm just calling it an FTL-like. And then if you want to argue about whether FTL is a roguelike, you're free to do so. Yeah, there's something wrong here. There's something happening here, and what it is ain't exactly clear. See how we do this now. For each coords in prior bounds, so it's giving us the coords in world space now. We know that for sure. And then when we ask encloses, we're being given a coordinate between minimum and maximum. Now we know that for sure. Because when we iterate, we are getting the vector. The vector is we got our zero based indexed here. We're going through from 0 to volume. We're getting a vector from that that's 0 based. We're adding the minimum to bring it into our space, into the external space of the outside world here. We're sending that back. And then we're shoving that into an encloses query on another bounds. And so this is in an external space, which is good because we just do a simple check of does this coords match itself if clamped between our minimum and maximum, which are also in either global or some other object's local space, which is fine. So that's right. That should work. Yeah, the question is the forgetfulness frame to frame, and I really do think it has something to do with the way we're replacing the bounds each frame. Or each time. I say frame, but it's each time we do this, each iteration. We're like forgetting about something. I don't understand why this isn't working. When we get an index, we take it from the exterior space into the interior space. Roguelike? Yeah. You'd consider FTL a roguelike? Yeah, I mean, I would. Two derivatives of rogue? Yeah. All right, we're running out of time, but I feel like we're just on the edge of some kind of realization here. So when we try to replace a block, we check what the bounds were last time we tried to replace the blocks. Get every coordinate in there. So as this shrinks, so I actually need to change my diagram. So this is inaccurate because this wouldn't shrink two spaces. It'll only ever shrink one, sometimes both. So as this process repeats itself, where this boundary gets smaller and smaller, so if it shrinks by one, these should disappear. Currently it doesn't. Currently it just picks one and disappears it, which is perplexing. So as this gets smaller, so this is the prior bounds. We should erase everything in here that is not also in here. And then we set this to be the prior bounds. And the next bounds is even smaller. And we erase everything in the here that's not also in this smaller set. That should just work. Like that feels like correct. And it feels correct to give the current bounds, to set the current bounds as the prior bounds after every single iteration. And yet, the behavior we're getting is a deep forgetfulness where we can go out, but then the most we can ever go is one. Okay, so we can go both. So we can go both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. But it's still only by one rank or whatever. So it can be, yeah, there we go, like that. That one's a really weird case. I want to understand that. Where we go back, but we only go back by one tile. Like only the middle tile goes back. Like what is that? This I'll figure out later. I think I understand what's happening here. That whole type mix up. Yeah, why can't we just keep going backwards? And yeah, what is with that little divot in the corner? Why is that the way this works? Insane. We're just getting smaller here. We're getting smaller. And it's recognizing that we're getting smaller. Is it though? Maybe I guess that's the check. Is it recognizing that we're getting smaller? It seems like it is because we go small, 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 and then I start to drag it back out into large. And we go small again. I'm going to try to go from some range out and then back in and see what happens like this. And then go back in and then quit. Yeah, so we go from a volume of 2, which whatever. Actually, that's not right. Oh yeah, that is right. Based on this size. Weird that we're not we don't record the first one, right? So we're going up, 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 and then down, 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 and then we're ending at 1. So it's recording the correct boundaries, but it just stops trying. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. It definitely has something to do with our initial search. Freezing wing. You guess your indexes are fine, but whatever is the logic for removing the tiles might not be. Yeah, that's definitely the problem. Is the active group being dropped? So we're not recording a group. We're only recording it as two sets of boundaries. It's like, here's the boundary that we painted last time, and then here's the boundary that we're painting this time. And any difference, like anything we painted last time that we're not still painting over, it decides that we've changed our mind, and it uncovers those tiles. It destroys what we did the last iteration. But it seems like it can't go back further than one iteration. So if you keep retreading backwards, it won't cover those areas. It's very strange. Initiating the tool interaction is happening repeatedly, maybe. That is possible, but I don't think so because I'm restricting it. So this is being printed out every time we do something, every time we initiate the tool. And I have it locked on the input handler side to only trigger this if there's been a meaningful coordinate change. So we only trigger it once per coordinate movement. So like the mouse has to move all the way to a new tile map coordinate before we trigger this again. So it's not running multiple times per frame. I can pretty much guarantee that. What else could it be? Yeah, I don't know. It's mysterious. Oh, we've got ads coming. I really don't want to end on a brick wall like this. I want to get through this problem. Otherwise, I'm going to have to work on this tomorrow all day at the Godot meetup, and I do not want to do that. What could we be doing? What could we be doing? Well, we're not consuming this input, that's for sure. We should be. Or we should be recording this in the log, so we're not doing that. But that's not determinate. That doesn't mean anything. Hover shouldn't be getting called. No, hover doesn't mean anything in this case. So coords, we get the coords out. We know the coords are good because we've been watching them the whole time. The anchor only gets set once. Do this. You could try printing something each time the tool initiates. That's what we're doing. That's what this is. So we're reading out the boundaries that we're using to paint. And the boundaries we used last frame was the one above. So like, if this is the boundaries that we're using this frame to draw an area, this is the boundary that we used last time. So you can see that the boundary's getting smaller. Like you can see the numbers going down correctly. But for some reason, maybe it's, oh God, I'm gonna kill myself if this is a problem with the auto tiler and not the block setter. I don't think that's possible though, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna start printing out the contents of the buffer. Because I don't get it, and if I don't get it, I just need to see what's in the buffer. It's maybe what we need to do. This is not doing anything. The try reveal block at, maybe it has to do with hidden blocks. Maybe hidden blocks is not being recorded correctly. Coords. We use these coords. We're using, oh, we're using global coords. That should be fine. We're not using weird internal coords. The painting is working, so it's not there. There's something about this revealing process that's not correct. If bounds.encloses, yeah, so if it's a coordinate in prior bounds, but bounds encloses it, we don't process it. Otherwise, we should process it. So this should be good. So we should reveal every coordinate that is not included in the new boundary, and then we set the new boundary to be the old boundary. And we just redo that process. For some reason, it's not giving us the behavior that I want. And I don't know why. You're used to caveman debugging in Minecraft? You mean in Minecraft, right? Nice. Is there a failure point at the function that tries to remove the block? It does says try. It says try, but that's kind of like a holdover. It's a holdover because, like, it tries to reveal the block. If there's no block to reveal, oh, yeah. Because we add whatever the block is here. So the buffer index includes null blocks. So we can add null blocks, and it will try to reveal a null block if a null block needs to be revealed. So yeah, I need to remove, we're going to move away from try. I don't know why I did this because we did some boundary checking, which meant it could fail, but we've moved the boundary checking somewhere else. So this really shouldn't be failing anymore. We should probably switch to just calling it reveal block at. This should never fail. Try replace blocks in could conceivably fail, but yeah, we thought about that and we hated it, and so we've started to move away from doing it this way. I mean, I could try doing it another way. I could try doing it the more demanding way where we actually record the objects, the blocks that we're writing, and then we go through and we look for the specific blocks. That's how the OG tile handler does it. I just didn't want to do that. Thought it would be easier to use a boundary. It's becoming significantly more difficult. Ryson, you said you'd do something demonetizable and or against TOS if it isn't done in the context of a game. I did say that. I did say that. It's fine. I don't get ads on YouTube. Or I don't get ad money on YouTube. But I should get in the habit of not saying things like that for when I am allowed to make money on YouTube. I guess this is try reveal block at, because if there isn't a block to reveal, it won't succeed. Place block at shouldn't be try. Place block at should just succeed. I don't want to give up and just switch to a dictionary. No, that's a good call, Raisin. So we can go back one, and we can't go back any further, even though the prior bounds are getting lower. Are we setting prior bounds somehow somewhere else? It's weird how if we expand at all, we're allowed to go back one, but if we want to expand any further, it doesn't happen. That is perplexing. Yeah, the boundary stuff seems to be right. There must be something else I'm doing wrong somewhere, like in where I'm tracking. Maybe it has to do with this hidden blocks dictionary. Where could I be doing something wrong with this? It better not be... Hover can't run while we're doing this, right? If hover is running simultaneously, that could cause some huge problems for me. But I don't think it can. So cursor, if a mid-interaction, if we've released it and a mid-interaction is false, otherwise, cursor coordinates are not equal to prior coordinates, input handler.continue interaction, prior coordinates are cursor coordinates. So if we're not amid an interaction, no, so we're not doing a mouse hover on accident, I don't think. If we were, that could cause problems, but I don't think we're doing that. You haven't used C# and Godot, you assuming you can't breakpoint the function if it's in C#. I mean, I can. It just doesn't seem like there's a problem with the data. There's some problem with the behavior that's different. That's what I would almost gamble on now. And I could breakpoint, but I'd need to step through it. We're working on an area. It would be really tedious to do. Oh yeah, I should check the auto tiler. I don't think it can be the auto tiler. I'm just becoming suspicious of myself. I believe if it's anything, I think it's going to be this hidden blocks dictionary. So we say hidden blocks coords equals buffer index when we add something. For coords in bounds, this gives us the global coordinates. So that's good. We updated that to be the case. The index is the get position index for coords. Buffer index is 0 based. When we get the index out, it is also 0 based. Yes. Cool. I mean, I guess we could do a sanity check and see if this is actually happening. I mean, we know it's happening, but we could see if it's happening in later cases. Okay, we want to continue now. Okay, so we're going through all the coordinates at level 10. We're going through, okay, that was all that, these are all the, oh, we're going through a bunch of these. That was weird. I don't think I can get good data out of this because it's like, yeah. So 775, 13, 13, 5, 675. Step in. Okay, so it doesn't have this. Yeah, there's something going wrong with the hidden blocks dictionary. All right. I am confident that that's where the problem is. I was skeptical that my math was working, which seems like the great because it's usually not. But I think there's something wrong with how we're tracking blocks that need to be revealed. Which doesn't make sense to me because we're painting them here. Like we see them appear. Say hidden blocks coordinates. It's buffer index. We don't want to say add because we might be overwriting. This should add if it's not already here. Is my understanding of an assignment like this. Like if it doesn't have a value or it doesn't have a value associated with this key, it'll just add one. It's my understanding. Or it would tell me there's a problem. Pretty sure that's how C# dictionaries work. I mean, it's possible that we're adding things to the hidden blocks at a coordinate that is not right, but I don't think that's true anymore. I'm like very, very confident that that is not the case. All right, this is the Hail Mary here. I'm like basically out of time. If I can spot this, why this is not working. So hidden blocks. Maybe we should just start debugging like the size of the hidden blocks dictionary just to see if this is the right direction. Like length, count. There we go. So we plant one, it should be one. Now it should be 4, 9, 4, 1. 2, 4, 9, 6, 4, 2, 1. Okay, so it is removing things from there. So 6 is when it went from, when it removed one of the lengths of it, and then it moves another length, and then another. Okay, so that it is not the hidden blocks. Hidden blocks is not the problem. God, maybe it is the auto tiler. How could that be though? Because we iterate through every single thing in the buffer. What's block? Where is this being defined? What is this? Oh, hidden try get value coords out block block. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so should try reveal, if we call try reveal block, should it fail? Let's try this. I guess it shouldn't. It's gonna be impossible to debug that. We could say this. Be super careful about this. Okay. Okay. All right. Now we're going down. So coords 305. Got a block. Oh, deck here. Seems good so far. Blocks count is 16. That's probably right. Zoom. 3-1. 3-2. 3-3. Now we're back. Oh, this is really hard to debug this way because I can't control the thing with the mouse. I would need to add keyboard controls to make this more stable to debug this way because it's jumping. Like the mouse cursor's jumping around when I'm alt tabbed out. All right, I have a hard stop in 15 minutes. That's how much time we have to fix this. There's something I'm missing. There's something simple somewhere that I am missing that explains all of this. I mean, the easiest thing to do would be to just write the dictionary and stop trying to do this with AABB. Just as like a sanity check to make sure that it's the AABB that's actually causing the problem. I guess we do that. I don't want to use that permanently, but I do need to understand why this is happening. So then when I do this, I say active blocks coords. No, it's not equal buffer. It equals block, active block tool, I guess. And then instead of this, we're going to do for each block in. No, we're going to say for each vector 3i coords in active blocks dot keys. If bounds dot encloses continue. Otherwise, try reveal block at, and then active blocks dot remove coords. Okay, we're going to try a different way of doing this and see if we have more success. Try to isolate the problem. Okay, so that didn't do it, which means that's not where the problem is. Debug.writeLine active blocks dot count. I actually want to put that down here. All right, so let's see if we're correctly tracking blocks as they're added and removed, regardless of what the visuals are telling us. 2, 4, 6, 9, 12, 16, 9, 6, 4, 2, 1. Okay, so we are correctly counting the blocks. Is there really a visual reason why we're not seeing this? Is it a purely visual problem? I think you might have called it, Ryson, by reminding me about how I called it. Prior bounds, oh yeah. There's something weird happening. So after we do a try reveal block, I want to debug the buffer. I want to debug what's in the buffer at this location. I want to look at the buffer. Show me the buffer here. We're going to scrutinize the buffer, and if the buffer looks good, we're going to go find this. We're going to go find this problem. The buffer is maybe not good. Oh, well, that doesn't actually help me a lot. Oh, no, it does, because so here it's clearing correctly. It's clearing 3, setting it to form 0. Weird that it's calling it form 0. I guess I don't have a name for that form, so that's fine. And then here, it's so-called revealing them. And then, but the data is not actually changing. Huh. That's interesting. Okay, so it's doing everything correctly, but it's refilling it's when it tries to replace the tile, it's replacing it with the wrong thing. Well, this is a little weird, the way the data I'm getting here. Yeah, after this is run, any coordinate that's not in here, we reveal the block at, we should be getting nothing. We should be getting, okay, I'm gonna hard code this for a second. So instead of replacing it with block, I'm just gonna say block dot null. So forget about what's being stored in the hidden blocks dictionary. We're just gonna replace it with null. And now it works. We spent like 5 hours on this. And all that's happening is somehow the hidden blocks dictionary is being filled with trash. And by trash, I mean like the wrong data. We're placing a block and then telling it that the block that we just covered up is the block we placed down, not the block that was there before we placed it. So that's its own problem. But at least this works now, finally. Oh, that's a problem. What's going on there? I think I understand what's happening with that, actually. Has to do with the preview block system. It's because we're not doing this in an additive way. We're doing this in an exclusive way. That's fine. I actually know how to fix that. Oh, that was weird. What just happened over there? So why are we getting the wrong data in here? This should be working. This assigning to the hidden blocks for each coordinate inbounds. Hidden blocks at this coordinates is buffer at this index. This should be giving us what's currently in the buffer. Are we not like initializing the buffer correctly? That's possible. Seems unlikely, but it's possible. What's the default value for the block? For block form? Is it 1? Huh. Okay, well, I'm glad I know where the problem is. We're going to call that sort of a win. I need to figure out how to get the correct data in there. We're going to call that a draw, is what we're going to call that. Because I can at least do the thing I've been trying to do for hours. Which is draw out a shape and then draw it back. Overwriting the map data. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I have to dig into that. That's harder to debug a little bit. Interesting. Oh, there's something weird happening down there too. When I do this. Yeah, what is that? What was that? I see another strange thing that's happening, but I'm going to deal with that later. I don't need to be debugging this now. That's fine. We'll figure out what's going on here. Yeah, I'd call it a draw, but Gustavo, don't stare too much. Yeah, I'm gonna need to. Oh, that's fine. So no stream tomorrow. I'm at an in-person Godot meetup in the city. So we're closing out this week here with a draw. We'll come back. We'll come back and I just need some time to cook on this, right? And we'll figure it out. I'm okay with it. It's the same thing where like this system is more finicky at the moment, but the potential of it is very high compared to the initial versions that we had. Save this stupid thing. Thanks. Enjoy the meetup. Have a good weekend. Yeah, you all as well. Happy Friday. I hope everyone has a great rest of their weekend. I'm not going to raid because I went way over time and I need to go. But yeah, thanks everyone for hopping in. Thanks for saying hi, Gustavo. And thanks for hanging out, Ryson, the Scots, everyone else that's been in here throughout the stream, Pon, Jake, Breezing Wing, Neil, Fusionist, still needs work, Adagon, etc. Everyone, No Jewel earlier, Dime Novel Hero. Thanks everyone for hanging out today, whether you're still here or not. And if I missed anyone's name, I'm sorry. I just kind of scrolled up real quick. I appreciate y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. We'll be back next week. We still got a lot of game left to make. My name is Scott Hall.